If you live in the US, you've probably seen a restaurant combined with another restaurant, like a KFC Taco Bell, for example. The idea is that you can go to both establishments in just one stop. But every once in a while, a restaurant will share a building with a business so vastly different that the idea of patronizing both of them in the same stop is nothing short of absurd. Like, for example, this combination Little Caesars T-Mobile, or perhaps this combination Taco Bell and Urgent Care. So in this episode, I'll be visiting 5 of these Frankenstein combos, and my goal is to patronize both businesses at each of my 5 stops, no matter how bizarre that experience ends up being. Alright, first up, we're headed to Biddeford, Maine to visit a combination Taco Bell and Jiffy Lube. Typically with a place like this, people will start using a portmanteau, which is a combination of words. So a KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut becomes Kentaco Hut. IHOP and Applebee's becomes IHOPPLEBEE's. So for this one, I'm going to go with Jiffy Bell. And just to be upfront with you, the other combos in this episode are basically just happy accidents. Like, they didn't set out to be a combo with one another. But I was delighted to discover that this one specifically was built from the ground up with the intention of having it be a Taco Bell Jiffy Lube. I found some local news articles from 2016 about the construction, and there's a quote from the development firm that says, "The unusual combination of businesses works to manage traffic flow, with Jiffy Lube seeing less traffic per hour than the adjoining fast food restaurant." As one of the world's leading experts in combination restaurants, I'm not even sure if that comes close to being the best logic for this. If I were them, I just would have said, eat Taco Bell while you get your oil changed. Sold. The article also says that it cost a little over $500,000 to build. And don't get me wrong, that's a huge amount of money, but when the median home price in America is over $400,000, it's like, well, at that point you might as well take out a mortgage on a Jiffy Bell instead of a house. You just live in the back. All right, so once I arrived, I drove my car around to the back to pull into the garage doors at Jiffy Lube. You can also continue around the building to enter the drive-thru at Taco Bell. And they got to work on my car immediately. For some reason, they didn't take any of my information, so I kind of felt like I probably should wait in their waiting room, but I was like, I'll just be next door, I'm sure it'll be fine. Sadly, there was no interior door connecting the Jiffy Lube waiting room to the Taco Bell, so you have to go around to the front. At Taco Bell, I ordered a cheesy gordita crunch with a Dorito shell, which is easily the best staple on the Taco Bell menu. And I got a $1 medium drink because it was happier hour. And while I was waiting, I noticed that this Taco Bell had a trophy section. I've seen the occasional plaque or frame on the wall of a Taco Bell, but never a full-on trophy section. Apparently, Henry Gustafsson is like the Michael Jordan of Taco Bell. Someone's gonna have to hang that man's uniform from the rafters once he retires. All right, my food came out, I got my Baja Blast Zero, and then I made my way back over to Jiffy Lube. But by the time I got outside, which was legitimately only 8 minutes after I pulled in, my car was already done. Do you ever wonder if they actually change your oil at these places? I know they did, and I know that they're professionals, so they can do it a lot faster than I can when I change my own oil. But I just feel like when they work for 8 minutes and then charge you $110, it's like, you guys sure you double checked everything? Anyways, because they were so fast, I feel like I didn't even get the full experience of getting to eat my Taco Bell in the Jiffy Lube waiting room. So I just pulled around to the front and ate it in my car. For each of these places, I'll give 3 ratings. The first one is how well these businesses pair with each other. The second one is how well they executed the combo. And then the third rating is my experience visiting the combo. So for the Jiffy Bell, I'm gonna go 10 out of 10 for the pairing. I mean, the Cheesy Gordita Crunch was way better than any of the coffee that I've ever had in a Jiffy Lube waiting area. Execution was a 7 out of 10. I mean, the doors were in weird places, and as I mentioned, there was no interior door connecting the two businesses. But overall experience, I'm gonna go 9 out of 10. I wish it didn't cost so much, but overall, probably the most fun oil change I've ever had. Every once in a while, I get a comment that's like, how do I do this job? Or, bro got the best job in the world. And it's true, I'm super grateful that I get to do this for a living, but I haven't always been a content creator. There was a time in my life where I was working another job, which was really meaningful to me. I just ended up getting burnt out. I was like, do I double down because I've already invested time and money into this path, or should I just go for it in this other direction? And that's why I'm thankful to partner with Southern New Hampshire University, who's the sponsor of this episode. Because if you're feeling similarly, they can equip you to take that next step. SNHU is one of the largest accredited universities in the United States with some of the most affordable online tuition rates in the nation. If you're feeling stuck in your career, or if you've been itching to take that next step or make a change, SNHU offers hope and a way to start building towards something better even while working full-time. SNHU's programs are super flexible. There are no set class times, which means you can work towards your degree when and where you want. You can transfer up to 90 credits towards a bachelor's degree, and it's not just for prior college. You can get credit for military and other work and life experiences too, which can help you finish your degree faster and for less money. SNHU was voted one of the country's most innovative universities by US News and World Report. And as a student there, you can gain real-world experience to help yourself stand out to future employers or take advantage of their career services to help you prepare for the job market. It's never too late to pursue something you love, so this just might be your sign to start. Go to snhu.edu/samreid to explore over 200 degree programs and find your path forward. That's snhu.edu/samreid, spelled REID, and you can also find that link in the description. Thanks so much to SNHU for sponsoring this episode. All right, next up we're headed to Farmville, Virginia to visit a combination Little Caesars and T-Mobile. I guess this would be a T Caesars. Little Mobile doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Maybe Little T-Mobile. Caesars Mobile is kind of good, but to me that implies that Little Caesars is now like a cell phone service provider, which they're not. But let's get into it. So I went to Little Caesars first. By the way, did you guys know that Little Caesars doesn't have an apostrophe? I didn't. Are we supposed to understand that there are a bunch of like Little Caesars running around? Even so, you'd probably still want an apostrophe after the S. Little Caesars pizza. I ordered a hot and ready pepperoni and a Mountain Dew Zero, and that somehow came out to be like $12 after tax and tip. I guess it's been a while since I've been to a Little Caesars, but in my head, hot and readies should just perpetually be $5. Apparently it's $6.99 now. Believe it or not, there wasn't one like literally ready, but they had a few in the oven, so they told me one would be coming up soon. While I was waiting, I got super intrigued by this online order pizza locker thing. They call it the Pizza Portal. It appears to be like an Amazon locker for Italian-inspired cuisine. My pizza came out about 2 or 3 minutes later, so still pretty solid turnaround time. I had a suspicion they wouldn't appreciate me bringing a full pizza into T-Mobile, so I brought it to my car first and then made my way inside. The door for this one was on the side rather than the front, so again, not the most seamless path from point A to point B. And when I first walked in, the employees were helping other customers, so I just started looking around. I didn't really need a new phone case, and I thought about maybe a new charging cable or like a charging block, but I'm pretty set there too. I did drop my phone relatively recently and I cracked my screen protector, so I figured I could replace that. The only problem was that their screen protectors were like $40, which is insane. And before I could make a decision, someone came over and asked if I needed any help, and I definitely didn't want to accidentally get talked into starting a new T-Mobile plan or getting a new phone or something, so I decided to bite the bullet and tell her that I was looking for a screen protector. She helped me match the screen protector to my phone model, and while she was getting something from the back, I just asked the other guy working there about working so close to a Little Caesars.
If you come in here in the morning about 11, coffee and all pizzas all day.
Oh, man. Some pepperoni.
Pepperoni, yeah.
Man, that is.
But you smell the garlic from the cheeseburger.
Well, it's like, you know, for therapy, and they had that breakfast place downstairs, and it was all bacon. I was like, man, how y'all work up in this therapy with that bacon smell?
Right.
Not right
It's 4211.
Okay.
The girl who was ringing me up offered to put the screen protector on for me, but I wanted to go back to my car and apply the screen protector and eat the pizza to get the full combo experience, so I declined her offer. And even though I was hungry, I decided to do the screen protector first before my fingers got all greasy. What the? Did I just break my phone case? Maybe I do need a new phone case. I think we're good. That is nasty though. You ever looked inside your phone case? After a stressful few minutes trying to follow all the application instructions, where'd I put the instructions? They're under the pizza. Okay, I'm sweating. Maybe I should have let her put this on. I successfully got the screen protector on, only to discover that there was a little speck of dust right in the middle of the screen. And when I went to remove that, the whole thing came off, so at that point I was just freehanding it. Long story short, I got it, but there were some weird air bubbles in there, which I was pretty sure would work themselves out, and if not, that was something I was willing to live with. Was that worth $40? Probably not. Definitely not. But after that, it was time for a victory pizza with a side of Chipotle napkins. And the pizza was pretty solid. I don't know how this happened, but I discovered that I had spilled pizza sauce on myself. Classic. Not even joking, stuff like this happens all the time, and that's why I keep a Tide to Go pen in my car and in my backpack and in my office. Like, there's literally one right over there just off camera. All right, how do I feel about Caesars Mobile? This unfortunately is a 3 out of 10 pairing. I can't imagine a situation I would want or need to go to both of these establishments on the same trip. It is very funny to me though. For execution, I'm going 6 out of 10. I do love the symmetry of the building and the logos. I wish both of the doors were on the same side of the building, or that it was just easier to get from one to the other. As for my experience, I didn't love paying $40 for a screen protector, but I really enjoyed getting to hear from that lady about the place that smells like bacon. Plus the pizza was solid, so I'm gonna go 7 out of 10. All right, before we go to the next place, I just want to shout out an honorable mention that I didn't visit, but I do drive past pretty frequently on the highway in Winchester, Virginia. And that's what appears to be a combination Smoke Up and Five Guys. Smoking is obviously bad for you, don't do it, but this sign always makes me laugh. I checked Google Street View, and sadly these are 2 separate buildings, but if it was a combination, I would have to imagine it would be called Smoke Guys. Although Smoke Up Five Guys works pretty well as is. Okay, next up we're headed to Gum Spring, Virginia to visit a combination Dairy Queen and post office. Lots of good options for a portmanteau here. The Post Queen, the Office Queen, the Dairy Post, the Dairy Office. I kind of like the Dairy Office. So if you're new to the channel, I actually have a pretty strict definition of what I consider to be the most pure examples of combination restaurants. It's a whole classification system. And this combo does unfortunately break my rules because it's part of a gas station. When it comes to licensing and franchising within gas stations, it feels like all bets are kind of off, but this whole video is kind of for kicks and giggles anyways, so we'll let this one slide. I went into the Dairy Queen side first, and the good news is that there was an interior door between these two establishments. The bad news is that the half of the building with the post office sign seemed like it was more gas station than post office. I decided to get an Oreo Blizzard first and then go investigate. I was excited to get Dairy Queen because my local store permanently closed last year, and I knew it was over for them when they taped a piece of paper on the drive-thru window that said they would no longer be participating in the thing where you serve the Blizzard upside down. They were just like, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. That and when the drive-thru started taking like 30 to 40 minutes on a regular basis. But my man at this location did serve it upside down, so I think they're doing all right. I took my Blizzard over to the other side and saw a small display that had a few envelopes and packages, but there definitely wasn't like a separate post office counter or lobby or anything. So I walked up to the gas station counter and asked if this was the post office, and what he said to me in response was, "We have stamps." So I was like, all right, and I went ahead and bought a book of 20 stamps. I tried to ask him if I could like mail packages here, which kind of threw him for a loop, but it sounds like you need to go to a different post office if you want to do that. So on my way out, I took a second look at the sign and saw that it says Village Post Office, approved postal provider, which obviously sounds different from being like a full-on post office. I looked it up, and the best way I know how to describe this is like when a place has a Pizza Hut Express. They can put the Pizza Hut sign up out front, but you know you're not getting a full-on Pizza Hut inside. You're gonna get to pick out a personal pan pizza that's been sitting under the warmer all day. And if you're lucky, maybe some breadsticks. That's what this is like, plus a little blue drop-off box for letters out front. Ironically, the guy pointed down the road and was like, if you want to mail packages, just go down that way. And that seemed just mysterious enough to pique my interest, so I did. And sure enough, less than half a mile down the road, there's like the tiniest post office I've ever seen. All right, so for my rating for the Dairy Office, I'm gonna go 7 out of 10 for pairing. Like, I can imagine this being a fun outing if you as a parent need to go to the post office, which usually requires waiting in line. You can treat your kids to some pretty average ice cream while you do it. However, the execution only gets a 5 out of 10. I really liked that it had 2 establishments with a connecting interior door, but I feel like calling this a post office is false advertising. For my experience, I'll go 6 out of 10. All right, next we're headed to Somerset, Pennsylvania to go to the local Goodwill Dunkin' Donuts. For the name, this one's a little tricky. Like, you could call it Good Donuts, maybe Dunkin'Will, Dunkwil. I'm gonna go crazy here. I'm gonna call it Gunkin'. Much like the T-Mobile, I wasn't sure whether they'd appreciate me bringing coffee into the Goodwill, so I decided to go there first. Plus, I figured maybe I could find something at Goodwill to then wear into the Dunkin'. The front of the building has 2 sets of sliding doors. This one on the left is the Goodwill entrance, and the one on the right is the donation drop-off, which means the Dunkin' entrance had to be around the side or something. But that's something that I would worry about later because there were secondhand goods calling my name. Also, it was super cold outside. At first glance, this actually felt like a pretty small Goodwill. There's this other section over here to the right that I thought might have more merchandise, but the doors said employees only. But despite my initial impression, they had a really solid selection. There was some really fun looking sports equipment, including a rusty horseshoe set and some motorcycle helmets. A lot of great wall art. Like, I thought about maybe getting something new for the studio wall, like perhaps this sign, or possibly this one. This one definitely seemed haunted to me. They had a bunch of great t-shirts, like this one, or this one. There was some mislabeled stuff, some really great mugs, some more slightly creepy or off-putting items, and just a ton of other miscellaneous things I wish I had time to show you. I spent way longer here than I thought I would, but I ended up buying the original Hunger Games trilogy for $1.99 each, the complete Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, also $1.99 each. That took a little bit of searching, but it was super satisfying to find all 3. I got a mug for 99 cents to put on the desk, this car vacuum for $4.99, which actually worked. Not the strongest vacuum in the world, but still functional. And I got a silk paisley tie to wear for the rest of the episode. $3.99. And then finally, this windbreaker I found to wear into the Dunkin' for $10. It feels a little pricier for Goodwill, but it has this tag on it that says Goodwill Select. I don't know if that's like how they categorize nicer items, but it also had a TJ Maxx tag on it, and it was priced at $24.99 at TJ Maxx, so basically 60% off. My total ended up being $32.99, which is definitely more than I planned on spending, but honestly the best value so far. I went back to my car and changed into the jacket, which might be the most reflective piece of clothing I've ever seen. And I was like, wait, is this actually cool? I don't know. If you want this, I didn't take the tags off or anything, so I'll add it to my store for like $1 and send it to you. It's size XL, so I'll link that in the description. All right, once I had the jacket on, I went in search of the Dunkin', and the right side was just the drive-thru. So I went and tried the left side, where I found a sidewalk that was pretty narrow because of all the recent snow. Turns out the Dunkin' was on the complete opposite side of the building, so facing the other way from the Goodwill. You may have noticed this third business on their sign out front, which was Liberty Tax, but as I was walking to Dunkin', I found where that used to be, and it looks like it's currently for lease. All right, so I finally made it to the Dunkin', and sadly, I was the only one there. No one to blind with the reflective panels on my new jacket. I got a protein latte with sugar-free vanilla and a cream delight donut, which were both super enjoyable, and overall, I'd say the Dunkin' gets a 9 out of 10 for the pairing. I could have spent so much more time at both Goodwill and Dunkin', and together they'd make like a super fun afternoon. For execution, I have to go 7 out of 10. The entrances were just so far apart that it doesn't make it super conducive to go to both of these at the same time. And for my experience, I'm gonna go 9 out of 10. Goodwill is always hit or miss, but I feel like this was a hit. I mean, you can disagree with me, but I think this tie rocks. All right, for our final stop, I'm headed to Norwood, Massachusetts to visit the infamous combination Taco Bell and Urgent Care. A few different possibilities for this portmanteau, but I think my favorites are Taco Care and Urgent Taco. You may have heard of this location before, and what I've seen happen is that someone posts a picture of this sign on Reddit or Twitter or Threads or Facebook like every 8 months or so, and it typically blows up with a slightly different audience. This happened most recently in January. And the caption is a reference to the classic song Combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell by the group Das Racist. And I feel like that song is the unofficial national anthem of combination restaurants. So at the risk of beating the joke to death, for better or for worse, Taco Bell developed a reputation for having a certain effect on the digestive system. But I'm actually going to argue that it's not Taco Bell that's messing you up. It's the lack of fiber in your diet. As a general disclaimer, I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist, but people who know more than I do have advocated that Americans are not getting enough fiber. So when you normally don't get a ton of fiber in your diet, and then all of a sudden you're getting a lot of it, things are going to start moving in ways that you're not accustomed to. For what it's worth, I don't get gastrointestinal issues when I eat at Taco Bell, but I also stick to the 4-item rule, which is a rule I made up, but if you're getting more than 4 items at Taco Bell, at that point you're pretty much asking for it. Nevertheless, I made sure I started with Taco Bell so that I could go to the urgent care second if need be. As is the case with most urgent care places, you don't need to make an appointment, so my plan was to walk right in once I finished my meal. At this location, the drive-thru goes all the way around the building, and I don't think this is the case, but it would be awesome if you could pick up both your Taco Bell order and like prescription medication from the drive-thru. It'd be super convenient. Inside the Taco Bell, I got a Cantina chicken bowl and a Baja Zero, and I took my time and enjoyed my meal. Don't sleep on the power bowls, by the way. They're no Chipotle, but they are one of the healthier things you can order at Taco Bell. Once again, no connecting door here between the two establishments, but who am I kidding? That would have been absurd. Once I was finished, I packed up, grabbed my Baja Blast, and made my way straight from the Taco Bell over to the urgent care. I had a plan in my head to ask about some stuff that had kind of been bothering me, like some lingering back pain from sciatica. And when I went to check in, she asked me for my insurance information, which I had left back in the car. So I was like, let me go get that real quick. And you guys, I just bailed. There were other people both ahead of and behind me in the waiting room, and in the few seconds I had to kind of size up the situation, I was just like, I can't justify making someone wait longer than they need to get medical care just so I can kind of do a bit. Especially because there wasn't anything immediately wrong with me, medically speaking, at least. Plus, to be honest with you, I think the Baja Blast might be making me stronger. I think I might live forever, so I didn't want to waste the doctor or the PA's time. Sadly, that does mean that I fell short of my goal of being a patron at both establishments for each of these combo locations, but I do feel qualified to give a rating for the urgent taco. I'm gonna say this is an 8 out of 10 pairing. Hilarious, but not super useful in real life, unless maybe you went to Taco Bell as a pick-me-up after having to go to urgent care. 7.5 out of 10 for execution, similar to the Dunkin, but with slightly better door locations, and another 8 out of 10 for my experience. So that means that Taco Bell Jiffy Lube, aka Jiffy Taco, is going to come out with the highest overall score, followed closely by the combination Goodwill and Dunkin' Donuts. I only need oil changes every so often, so the Dunkin' feels like the one that I'd be most likely to go back to on a regular basis. Let me know in the comments if you have any weird combos near you. The weirder the better. And as you may have guessed, I love taking unserious things very seriously, but I also like to take serious things seriously too. So I totaled up the amount I spent in this video and made an equivalent donation to Feeding America. And if you happen to struggle with your relationship with food, there are also some resources linked in the description that you're welcome to take advantage of. I'll see you back here in a couple weeks for the next episode of the studio review, but until then, just remember that even when it doesn't feel like it, it's gonna be okay. I'll see you soon.